Dawn had only just smeared orange over the horizon when Mateo Alvarez lifted the roller door of his one-bay garage on the edge of Paso Robles. The creak of the hinges echoed along dusty Main Street, followed by the sweet metallic scent of grease that clung to the threads of his well-worn coveralls. At 26, Mateo already felt older than the cracked asphalt beneath his boots. Business was slow. Most locals drove pickups from the 80s and knew how to fix their own, but he kept the lights on with tire patches, oil changes, and a willingness to help anyone who rattled into town. He liked the quiet. It gave him time to tune engines and tune out the memory of his father's final coughs in the county hospital. Cancer had swallowed the small savings they'd set aside, leaving debt like rust on every surface of Mateo's life. Even so, he answered each clang of the shop bell with the ready smile his father had taught him. "Give first, son," the old man would say, "and the world will find its own way to pay you back." At 9:15, that bell screamed again, long, frantic, like someone yanking the chain rather than tapping it. Mateo wiped his hands on a rag and stepped outside. A silver SUV, the glossy kind that never dirtied its rims, idled at the curb. Steam puffed from under its hood, and the right rear tire looked as deflated as overcooked flan. Behind the wheel sat a woman maybe his age, maybe younger, jaw tight as she stabbed at her phone screen. Her blazer was the color of Merlot. Her shoes, pointed and immaculate, were not made for gravel roads. When she noticed him, relief crossed her face so quickly it was almost apology. "Hi, sorry, do you do pumps?" she called through the open window. The engine temperature light went red and her sentence fractured. "I'm late for an appointment upstate and every roadside service says 2 hours." Mateo offered the ragged grin that felt like a hand extended. "I can take a look, no promises till I see it," she exhaled, shoulders unclenching. "Thank you, really." Mateo popped the hood. Blizzard-thick steam whooshed out, blurring his vision. He waited for it to clear, then leaned in. The coolant pump housing had cracked clean across, a plastic, shell split by a careless pothole or the desert's heat. A simple but vital part. Without it, the engine would overheat in minutes. "Pumps shot," he said, wiping condensation from his eyelashes. "I keep a couple in stock for older Fords, but this looks custom." Her expression fell. "And ordering one?" "Tomorrow afternoon earliest. Our courier only runs once a day." She bit her lip, a quick tremor of frustration. Then she straightened, smoothing her blazer as if to press annoyance back into its seams. "Okay, I guess. I can wait." Outwardly calm, she stared at the rows of closed storefronts like they were prison bars. Mateo noticed the thin line of sweat streaking her temple despite the cool morning. The sun hadn't finished rising, yet the pressure she felt weighed hotter than July. He glanced at the crumpled tire. "Mind if I handle the flat while we figure the pump? At least you'll have options." The woman blinked, startled by the offer. "Yes, please, I'd appreciate it." While Mateo loosened lug nuts, she paced phone to ear, leaving voicemails that grew gentler each time she started over. He caught fragments: tasting, contract, harvest window. Words he filed away without context. 10 minutes later, the spare was on, though the SUV still couldn't move more than a mile without boiling itself. Inside the office, he brewed 2 coffees, one in his chipped mug, one in a paper cup he kept for customers, and carried the latter outside. She accepted it with both hands, as though heat alone could ground her. "I'm Mateo," he said. "Evelyn," she answered. The name floated light like a grape skin under sun. He smiled at the odd comparison but kept it inside. "You from around here, Evelyn?" "Not exactly." She blew over the coffee's surface. "My family's got land north of Santa Rosa. Vineyards. Nice country up there." She chuckled, weary. "Depends who you ask. Some think Napa's the whole world and we're just second cousin Sonoma, but the fruit's the fruit." He glanced at the SUV. "Business trip?" "Sort of. I was signing with a restaurant group in LA. Exclusive pouring rights. Yesterday's meeting ran late and I refused to stay another night at the airport hotel. Thought I'd make it home before dawn." She looked at the ruined pump, cheeks flushing. "So, Much for that. Mateo sipped his coffee. Well, there's an old Civic out back, run strong, you can borrow it. Leave this here until the part arrives. Evelyn froze, cup halfway to her lips. That's incredibly kind, but I couldn't. He shrugged. Car's worth less than the repairs on yours. I'd rather you make your appointment. Just bring it back with gas. She studied him as though kindness might be a scam in disguise. No rental company would trust a stranger with a vehicle on a handshake. I'm not a company, he replied. Simple fact. Just a guy whose PA believed trust is cheaper than suspicion. The sentence landed like a stone dropped into still water. Ripples of something unspoken widened between them. Evelyn's eyes shone, but she blinked quickly. I'll pay you, of course, she said at last. Payment's the easy part, Mateo replied. But a promise is better. Promise you'll swing back for your SUV and we'll call it square. She inhaled through her nose, steadied by the offer's calm certainty. I promise. By noon the next day, the replacement pump arrived on a rattling courier van. Mateo hummed ranchera tunes while installing it, thinking of nothing but torque specs and gasket seals. When the engine purred back to life, pride warmed him like summer concrete. He expected Evelyn might return within the week. Business types always hustled. Still, 4 days passed in silence. He refused to doubt her word, yet worry crept like cold oil through an engine block. Had something gone wrong? Had she crashed the Civic? Had his leap of faith placed her, or the old car, in harm's way? On the 5th evening, just as Mateo flipped the closed sign, headlights swept the shop floor. The Civic idled outside. Paint. Flecked with dust, but otherwise fine. Evelyn stepped out wearing jeans and scuffed boots instead of heels. The familiarity almost startled him more than her absence. Sorry for the delay, she said, handing him the keys. Harvest started early, and once the crew begins, days blur together. How'd she drive? Like a champ. Radio only. Gets 2 stations, one Spanish folk, one preacher shouting about Armageddon, but the silence between them was peaceful. She smiled. Thank you, Mateo. I'd have been sunk without you. He waved it away. Part was $60. Labor, call. It a handshake. I already billed the tire. He pointed at the SUV's trunk where the flat rested. Evelyn reached into her pocket and produced a folded envelope. I insisted on paying more than the invoice. Consider it hazard pay for trusting a stranger. He took the envelope reluctantly, planning to slide half back. But before he could open it, she cleared her throat. I'd also like you to visit the Vineyard. Our harvest festival is this Saturday. Food, live music. Bring anyone you like. Mateo hesitated. The shop needed him weekends. Tourists blew. Engines on Sunday drives. He eyed the grease crust under his fingernails. You sure you want a mechanic muddying your party? I'm sure I want the man who saved my skin to taste what he preserved. She met his gaze, voice catching. Your father taught you well. The way she said it, like she'd met the man, squeezed Mateo's heart. He nodded once, a silent, yes, that surprised them both. Saturday afternoon, Mateo drove north, the road unspooling beneath clear sky. He passed oak-dotted hills until rows of vines marched to every horizon, leaves fluttering like celebratory flags. Signs reading Rondon Family Vineyards guided him to a gravel lot spilling into a small valley. Music rose from a stage where a band blended Mexican corridos with bluegrass fiddles. Long wooden tables bowed under platters of roasted vegetables, tri-tip, and bread glistening with olive oil. People danced between barrels converted into cocktail rounds, laughing the way farmers do when crop and weather align. Evelyn spotted him near the welcome arch. She wore a linen dress, hair in a practical knot, but sun had kissed her cheeks, softening the executive edges he remembered. She greeted him with a hug, faintly scented of grapes and dust. I was starting to think you'd bail, she teased. Shops, closed 1 day a year now, apparently. She led him through vines heavy with purple clusters. Workers clipped bunches and laid them gently into crates. The air tasted of sugar and earth. Our vineyards used to belong to my grandmother, Evelyn explained. She taught me that every harvest is a gamble on kindness. Sun's kindness, soil's kindness, picker's kindness. She glanced at him. You added to that chain. They reached an overlook where valley shadows stretched like long fingers. Below, a new building gleamed, polished concrete, solar panels angled to the sky. Workers raised a sign, Alvarez Barrel Room. Mateo blinked. My name? Why? I didn't put it there for vanity, she said quickly. We're expanding. Needed a new cooperage and service garage for tractors. I figured if we're investing, we invest in people who invest in others. He stared, throat dry. I can't accept. You already earned it. I'm offering partnership, not charity. We'll cover relocation, pay market salary plus profit share. She looked away, suddenly shy. I realize it's abrupt, but I've spent days thinking how to show what your trust meant. A fancy check would vanish. This could grow. Wind rustled vine leaves, whispering like his father's voice. Give first, son. Mateo clenched his jaw against a storm of feeling. I have debts, he said hoarsely. They'll follow. Then let them. Success tastes sweeter when it's shared. He Allah.